Welcome to the Idiot's Guide. I'm Mackie Hall, and thanks to my dog, I got a cut on my face. Now, with that said, I'm going to rant a little bit comparing Type on Path and Warp Arc. If you don't know, Warp Arc is an effect that you access through the drop-down menu on the top bar. As you can see, Warp Arc is a great tool to take simple type and bend it around an oval or round shape. As a matter of fact, oftentimes it works better than Type on Path, as you can see right here. That being said, I've seen it as a cheap way to get type to wrap around a round shape. Don't have the flexibility, the ease of editing, or the type clarity that Type on Path provides. That's especially true when dealing with more type, and that's what makes Type on Path essential. Check out these examples right here. If we'd have used Warp Arc on any of these logos, type would be distorted, squashed, and simply would not have worked. Let's take a look at the BMW logo for an example. Note how clean and clear the type looks. Now, if we'd used Warp Arc on that same original logo, look how distorted the piece looks. As a matter of fact, you can't even use this logo because the type is so distorted and affected. Now check out a more complex path. This belongs to Little Red Riding Hood right here. And note that you simply cannot do this without Type on Path. Type on Path is pretty straightforward to use, but there are lots of little nuances. So we're going to do a simple tutorial today to cover those little subtleties, and then we're going to do a simple tutorial to do this right here. Well, we've got lots to cover today, so let's get started. All right, let's get started. The first thing I want to remind you is that we are using the Essentials Classic layout. To switch over to Essentials Classic, just go over to your Switch Workplace button that's at the top right hand corner of your page. Just click on it and switch on over to Essentials Classic. Next thing I want to remind you is that we're using Smart Guides. To switch over to Smart Guides, select View, Smart Guides, or Control U. One last thing I want to mention is that we are going to use the bottom center of the page for hotkey recommendations, key command recommendations, and tips and tricks. All right, let's get started. As we get started, the first thing I want to mention is we are going to be using the same sample text throughout our initial tutorial. You can see that on the top left of your page. That is Little Red Riding Hood walked through the hills. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste that information. Let's grab our selection tool and let's deselect. Now that we've done that, let's talk about our Type on Path tool. The first thing you will realize is you generally can't see the Type on Path tool. If you click on your left toolbar, we'll select our Type tool. Let's go ahead and click off of it. I'm going to press my Control key and click anywhere on my screen to deselect if anything is selected. Now with that being said, all I need to do to access my Type on Path is click and hold on my Type tool and then select Type on a Path tool. Now that we've done that, we can use Type on Path on many different shapes. In this case, we're going to be looking at open paths. Now, what I want to mention to you is Type on Path sets the start of your path wherever you click on your path. Note right here, I'm going to click over to the center of my path about right here. What that will do, as you can see, is it sets the start of my type path wherever I clicked. Let's go ahead and paste our type in there. And let's go ahead and deselect. I'll deselect by pressing my Control key and clicking anywhere on my artboard. And notice right there that our type started wherever we clicked. Let's go to Outlines. And you can see exactly where I clicked to start my type. Note that if I select my type once again and activate my shape, if I align to right, note that my type aligns to the end of the path. If I align to center, note that my type aligns to the center of the path that I selected. Let's grab our selection tool to see exactly where our type path started. Now I've clicked on there. You can see where our type path starts and where it ends. Let's go ahead and deselect. And let's go back away from Outlines. You can see that both in Outlines and out of Outlines. You can see that when I click here. Now that being said, let's go ahead and undo and get our type off that base path. Let's go ahead and grab our Type on Path tool And let's click on the start of our path. This time we're going to click on our path anchor point. We're going to paste our type back in. And note right away when we roll away that our type path starts at the beginning of our line segment. If we align to right, our path ends at the end of our line segment. And of course, if we align to center, our path aligns to the center of our line segment, just like that. Let's go ahead and align to left one more time. All right, let's go ahead and deselect. Now that we've established that our type path starts wherever we click on our shape, let's go ahead and click at the start of our curved line segment, just like that. Let's paste our type back in. And let's deselect. Now, one of the cool advantages of type on path is that it manages type very, very solidly. Note that if I make my type larger, let's select all our type once again. And let's increase our type size to 36 points. Let's go ahead and deselect. Now, the cool thing, as you saw when we enlarged our type, is when we use type on path, we can change any of our type preferences as we go. For instance, let's go ahead and select Little Red Riding Hood. And let's change our type color to red. Let's go ahead and deselect. And just like that, we've managed our type. Now we can also change the type style. Let's go ahead and change this to Times New Roman bold. And let's deselect one more time. And I think that is pretty straightforward. Another good thing about using type on path is that we can use it around the hard edges of a shape. Let's go ahead and do that again. Let's select our left edge of our shape. And let's go ahead and paste our type in. Let's make it slightly smaller to accommodate all of our type. We'll select all of our type. And then let's size it down to 22 points. That did it just right. And let's deselect our shape. Notice how our type wraps around that hard edge. Let's take a look at some of the additional features of type on path by adding our type to this new box. Let's add our type. Let's select all of our type and let's scale it down to 22 points. That makes sure that all of our type fits in. And let's deselect. Note straight away that when we added our type in here, our type flipped upside down. That might happen to you when you create shapes, but that is not a big deal at all. Let's show you what I mean. With our type on path tool, let's click on our type and let's go over to our type on path button and double click. Note that when we do that, our type on path options window comes up. And we've got lots of options here, including the different type effects. You can play with those if you would like. Let's go ahead and run through those real quick just for fun. Let's deselect and let's click preview and then let's play with the effects. Let's go to skew, 3D ribbon, stair step, and gravity. Each of those effects works differently depending on the shape, so feel free to experiment. Normally I use type on path simply with the rainbow effect. Now to turn our type right side up, all we need to do is select flip. Note that our type flips around immediately. There's another thing we can do. Now if you look at our type, note that the type is aligning to the baseline of our piece. We can change that by selecting Align to Path, and let's change it to Ascender. Notice that our type aligns to Ascender. Next, we can select Descender, and it's even further off. We can also select Center, and the center of our type aligns to our path. Let's go ahead and go back to Baseline and move on. The next thing we've got is spacing right here. And generally, I don't mess with spacing too much. I use my character window and my character management for that. If I want to stretch or contract my type, all I need to do is to kern or track it, either wider or more narrow. So let's click on OK. And let's go ahead and deselect our shape. Next step we want to look at is our closed path. And closed paths work a little bit differently. The reason is because there's no start or stop to the path. And so what we do with type on path is we select the start and stop of our path. For instance, we can click on any corner or any anchor point, and we can paste our type in. Let's go ahead and deselect. And you can see what our type does. Now, if I select my type one more time, and let's go ahead and align it to the right, you can see our type ends where we initiated our type. If we center, our type centers at the center point of where we initiated and ended our type. This is a really good tool to know if we are going to operate in a circle or perhaps we are building a round logo. Let's check it out. Let's deselect our piece. And let's look at our round logo. Now, if we want our type to align to the top, we have to think in terms of opposites. So if I want my type to center at the exact top of my shape, what I need to do is with my type on path tool, I need to select the exact bottom of my shape. So in this case, I'm going to hover over the bottom anchor point, and then I'll click on it. Let's go ahead and paste our type in there. Let's go ahead and deselect. And notice straight away that our type starts at where we initiated our type path. Let's select it one more time. And let's center our type. Let's deselect. And note again that our type is centering at the exact top of our shape. That's how so many great logos are made, is by using type on path and then clicking on the bottom of a circular shape to enter in the type. Let's undo. Now, what if we want our type on the bottom of our shape? Well, we're going to go again, we're going to play opposites. We're going to click on the top anchor point of our shape, and then we're going to paste our type in. As you can see, that works exactly as expected. But what happens if we center our type? Well, we've got a bit of a problem here because now our centered type is upside down. How do we manage that? As you could see earlier, all we need to do is double click on our type on path tool, bring up the type on path options window, and then select flip next to effects. Select preview. And note straight away that we flipped our type, so now it is completely legible without having to turn our heads upside down. Click OK. Let's deselect our shape. Now that we've done that, let's take a look at the sample exercise that we're going to play with today. Our sample is going to be the outside type for the logo for Juiced Wheels. Now we're not going to complete the entire logo. Instead, we're just going to complete the outside type of our logo. This is what it'll look like. So without further ado, and keeping this logo in mind, let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to create the circles that we're going to work around. The way we do that is we're going to select our ellipse tool. We're going to click anywhere on our shape, and let's create an ellipse that's 500 points by 500 points. Click OK. Once that's done, let's make sure our stroke is black and our fill is transparent. And then let's increase our stroke width to 14 points. Once that's done, let's align our piece to center horizontally and vertically, just like that. Now, if you don't see your align tools here, all you need to do is go to Window, Align, or Shift F7. Once we've completed that piece, let's go ahead and add another circle inside. We'll do that by double-clicking on our Scale tool. And let's scale our original circle down to 70%. Once that's done, let's make sure that Scale Corners and Scale Strokes and Effects are deselected, and let's select Copy. Let's deselect our shape. And that is exactly what we're looking for. Let's go ahead and start with our type on path circle. Here's how we're going to do that. Once again, let's grab our ellipse tool. Let's hover around the middle of our page until we hit center. There you go. Now that we've hit center, what we want to do to expand our circle symmetrically is click, drag out while holding our shift key. And then to expand from center, let's press our alt key simultaneously. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to drag out until we find our way halfway between the two circles, just like that. Let's not worry about the stroke at all. Instead, let's go ahead and write our top type. What we'll be writing is juiced wheels. The way we're going to do that is let's go ahead and select type on path once again. And since we know we want our type on top, what we want to do is we want to select the exact bottom of our type on path circle. Here's how we do it. Again, we're going to hover over our circle until we arrive at the bottom anchor point of our shape. We'll click on it, and let's again write juiced wheels. Let's make sure that our type is aligned to center. It already is, but if it's aligned to left, once again, all we need to do is click on our paragraph tool and align to center. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead and change our typeface. The typeface we are going to use today is Gover Type. That is available at pixelsurplus.com for free download. We'll select that, and let's increase our type size to 56 points. Let's go ahead and deselect. That's a good start. You'll notice, however, straight away that our type is not centered across our shape. So how do we fix that? Well, it's a pretty easy fix, you'll find out. All we need to do once again is select our type. Let's double click on type on path. And again, bring up our type on path options. All we need to do now is select align to path and change from baseline to center. Let's preview that. That's a little bit better right there. However, you'll notice that we've brought up a new problem now. That new problem is that our type is starting to run together just a little bit. Note the spacing between the L and the S at the end of our words. Let's fix that by tracking our type out. We'll click OK. And let's select all of our type by triple clicking. Once we've done that, let's go to our character window on our right sidebar. If you don't see it there, you can always open your character window by selecting Window, Type, and Character. You can also select Control-T. Now that we've done that, let's increase our tracking to 50 points. All you need to do is go over here, select 0, and enter in 50. Let's click OK. Let's go ahead and deselect. Again, we'll press our Control key, click anywhere on our artboard. That is a little bit better. Now, if we're being picky, you'll notice that our path type is skewing towards the outside circle a little bit more than the inside circle. So how do we fix that? That is actually an easy fix, and this is a great advantage of type on path, is that we can scale our type path circle. All we need to do is let's grab our selection tool, let's click on our type circle, let's grab our scale tool, double click on that, and let's go ahead and scale our shape. Let's scale it back up to 100 and work from there. All right, that's where we're starting originally. Let's take it down to 99, see if that works a little better. I think that looks perfect. Now, if you wind up needing to make it a fraction, all you need to do is write in that fraction. If you wanted to make it 99.1, for example, just enter that. Tab off it. And I think that looks perfect right there. Let's click OK. Let's go ahead and deselect. And I think we're ready to work on our bottom type. And to make it easier on ourselves, since we're going to add type on a circle on top of our top type circle, let's go ahead and add a layer. We'll do that by selecting our layers window. Let's click add layer. Let's go ahead and lock our bottom layer. That ensures that we don't affect our top type or our bottom layer while we're creating our bottom type. Once we've got that and our top layer is selected, let's grab our ellipse tool once again. Let's hover over center once again. Let's click and drag out our circle Again, holding Shift and Alt keys simultaneously, and let's drag out until we snap to our original circle. There you go, right there. Now that we've done that, let's grab our Type on Path tool once again, and let's click on the exact top of our circle. The reason being is we want our type on the exact bottom. So let's click on it, and let's write the best for your board. Now that we've entered our type, you'll notice quite a few things wrong. The first thing being that our type is not centered. Next, you'll notice that our type is upside down at the very bottom of our shape. And of course, third, you'll notice that our type is simply too big. So let's go ahead and address the first two elements by opening the Type on Path window. Double click. And once again, to flip our type, all we need to do is select our preview first so we can see what we're doing. And then let's go ahead and click on Flip. That solved our first problem. Now we can see that our type is right side up. The next thing we want to do is we want to change the way we align to the path. We'll change from baseline to center, just as we did for our top type. And that works a lot better. Let's click OK. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead and make our type smaller. All we need to do is click on all of our type. We'll click on our type, and then let's select all of our type. We'll do that by pressing Control A. And again, in our character window, let's change our type size. This time we're going to halve our type size instead, and we'll bring it down from 56 to 28 points. Let's go ahead and deselect. And there you go. I think that looks just right. Now let's see how it looks with our logo in the center. That looks even better. And with that, we are done. Congratulations. You've completed a pretty long tutorial right there, but hopefully you got a lot out of it. Check out this next piece right here. It might help you get even further along the way with Type on Path, as well as some other skills. That being said, if you have any questions, comments, or critiques, leave them in the comments section below. Otherwise, throw me a like. I'd really appreciate that. Otherwise, subscribe. I'd appreciate that just a little bit more. We'll see you next time. See ya.